Hi, I'm Mark Crescento, founder and CEO of C6 Capital Holdings, coming to you from Primary Vision Network. Hopefully you had a great holidays and looking forward to kissing 2020 goodbye, getting into 2021, which can hopefully start out stronger. You know, we're going to talk about the Primary Vision Frac Spread Count as it came out early due to the holiday on Friday. So, we just want to thank you again for your support throughout the year. We've built this from nothing, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for everyone that watches. So please, just as a reminder, like, share, subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. So without further ado, we went from 136 to 133. So we had a reduction of 3 spreads, which when you think about it against the previous few years, as we were saying the last few weeks, we were going to have the normal trend lower, but just a little bit of a different slope versus previous. Where were the reductions? we had some of the smaller basins lose 1. Appalachia was down 1. The Haynesville, Western Gulf, in terms of just Haynesville and Eagleford, were down 1 or 2. The Williston was down 1. So again, that sounds like a lot of down. Well, the Permian is starting to come back, and the Permian is starting to make that turn higher. And when we think about, okay, well, what does the Permian look like? What should we expect as we head into January? And then just to be clear, we have our end of year report, which is going to have a look forward, and we're going to do a bigger report along what to expect in 2021 from a U.S. activity level. So after bottoming out in June, July, the Permian has seen spread activations increase over 200%. The next technical hurdles are really 80, which the last time we saw that was in April. And if you think about kind of where we were prior to pulling back, 80 is doable, especially given the commentary we've seen in terms of activations in not only the Delaware, but also the Midland, with the Delaware being, I think, the biggest driver, and then 100, which was seen in March. Now, 100 is going to be much harder if we consider at 48. So currently, WTI Cushing sitting at 48. We're going to have to see that move a little bit higher, but there is a good chance that the Permian could make a run at triple digits, especially as we have seen some cost declines come through. Now, hitting at 80 active spreads in January 47 is likely, given where we're seeing. It's just going to be a matter of, at 48, as we get into 50, it's a no-brainer. Well, we'll see that those activations come back pretty quickly. So when we look at from the perspective of the last 3 months, you can see that we started October 2nd, we were at 111, closing out the year at 133, and we have these ebbs and flows, but the trend remains up, especially as we have the focus was, okay, close out the year, maintain production, and now renewed budgets. We'll start to see some shifts overall, but the trend will be back up. It'll really be driven, again, Permian is going to be the biggest player, but the Permian, Eagleford, Eagleford, Haynesville, Appalachia will remain strong. We think the Bakken is going to kind of sit at that, high single digits. Let's call it anywhere from 6 to 8 overall. But the big driver back to 145, 150 will be on the back of Texas. It'll be Texas, Louisiana that's going to be the biggest driver. Colorado, the DJ in general will kind of sit there at that, low single digits. But we're going to see a gradual increase. But the question is going to be how gradual, because when we look at it from historics, we typically have a fairly strong snapback. When we look at the close of 2019 at about 300 spreads, and then as we get into 2020, the snapback of about 300, about 30 or so, give or take. And again, we're going to see a similar snapback. It's just obviously going to be at much lower levels. And it's one thing that we always like to point out is we need 130 to 140 spreads in oil basins to keep production flat. So we had that run up, and now getting the production, getting some of that fresh supply into their numbers to close out the year. And it'll be interesting to see when we start hearing about Q4. How did 2020 close out? What is the plan for 2021 in terms of rig count, spread activity, completions? Where is production going to sit out? Some guys have said that they're going to try to keep 2020 flat to 2019, the exit of 2019. So obviously, we've had production go from 13 million to 11 million. So clearly, there's going to be a reduction. So can they maintain exit rate production at the current spread count? The answer is no. So that means we will have to see some of that increase. The question is going to be where? Easy answer. It's going to be in the south. And then obviously Appalachia, we have a lot of pressure in the natural gas curve at the front end, just as, the weather has gotten a little bit worse, which is why we're seeing some reductions in activity in Appalachia and Haynesville. It's seasonal as well. Like there's always a seasonal reduction. It's just, we don't think we're going to see the same type of snapback in specific areas. It's just going to be more of the Texas. Haynesville will see a little bit of love just because the LNG demand remains strong. The pricing remains supportive to see more LNG flow coming from the U.S., which is going to help the Haynesville remain not only just at this level, but maybe see one or two additions. Appalachia will see their normal seasonal slowdown, in terms of direction, obviously from a much lower level. Bakken, the same thing. We're not seeing anything that's going to say there's going to be an increase in January. So that recovery leaves us with a lot of the Permian and Eagle Ford. The smaller basins had their activity, as we said, into year end, and we were talking about it in October, November. We were going to get a big push into the smaller basins and then a big drop off. We got that. We'll continue to see that ebb and flow through Q1 as guys try to take advantage of pricing, spot and other, and at the same time try to maintain those production levels on that guidance, because we will try to see them hold exit rate 19 at least through Q1 and Q2 of next year, and try to see where they can get and what pricing really looks like. So again, we like to remind you, we do have our end of year report. If you buy it now, we will send as an addition the added piece of what we expect in 2021 and some of our insights as to where do we think production is going to go, where do we think spreads are going to get added, what areas, and really who's best positioned on the pumper side to take advantage of that, just based on with the horsepower locations, the inherent either most likely warm stacked, because cold stacked is going to be tough, and we talk about that in the report in terms of some of this horsepower that's just going to be that struggle in terms of how quickly can we get activations renewed. So say we get a huge spike in oil prices and oil goes to 65, just because oil is at 65 and guys may think, okay, 65, we're going to stay here because of XYZ. So we need to get active. Do we have the equipment? Do we have the manpower? How long would it take to activate some of these spreads? And we have all of that data, which is interesting because, obviously these cold stacked equipment sitting out in the yard for 6 months, it's going to be hard to see some of that activation without additional CapEx, and obviously hiring is an issue because you need people to man the equipment, and a lot of them have either been laid off, found other jobs, or tried to move elsewhere, and maybe something that's a little less cyclical. But again, these are things to consider, which we try to cover and we'll continue to highlight through hopefully a better year for all. So again, we appreciate the support. We hope you had a great holiday. Happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2021. So thanks again for watching. And tomorrow we have our Econ show coming out, and then after this we should have our EIA show out today to give you some of that coverage on production, storage, and what to expect into the new year. So again, I'm Mark Rossano, founder and CEO of C6 Capital Holdings, coming to you from Primary Vision Network.